Hello, I'm AVX Toycat, and one of the first things you want to do in Minecraft 1.21 is get the newest, rarest, and most powerful weapon, the Mace. The second thing you'll probably want to do is enchant it, but how do you enchant it? What enchantments can be put on top of it? And also, what is the best combination of those? Let's answer that because it sounds like a big update question, which we can answer today. So, how do you enchant the Mace? Step 1 is actually really easy because what you need to know is that there are 9 separate enchantments for the Mace, and 3 of these are brand new. So, you probably have heard of Smite or Fire Aspect before, or even Mending, but you might not have heard of the 3 brand new ones, Density, Breach, and Windburst. We'll explain what each of those are later, but first it's important to know that out of these 9 enchantments, 5 of them can be put on any mace you want whatsoever, but 4 of them are mutually exclusive. If you want Density, or Breach, or Smite, or even Bane of Arthropods, you probably don't, but if you want any of the other 3 enchantments, you can't have any of the other ones with it. What this means is that if I take, say, this Breach mace right here, very, very handy type of mace to have, I can't combine this even with Density, even if I have the book and even if I'm in an anvil, because they are actually exclusive. You have to take one off to add the other, which means if I want to add Bane of Arthropods, which, used to be a meme enchantment and still mostly is, but I would have to lose Breach, which is something you probably shouldn't do. So keep that in mind before you add any of these 4 to your mace, because you won't be able to add any of the others. But how do you actually get these mace enchantments? So there are 4 separate ways you can do this, and the first is the simplest, the enchantment table. When you put a mace and enchantment table with some lapis lazuli and some levels, you have a roughly 26-sided dice that gets rolled, and there is a 5 in 26 chance of that coming up as Density. So if we check right here, we can see, oh, there's Density, and also a small chance of that coming up as Smite, Bane of Arthropods, or Unbreaking. Similar odds, I should say, 5 in 26. Then it is a 4 in 26 chance of getting Breach, and a 2 in 26 chance of getting Fire Aspect, meaning Fire Aspect is the rarest enchantment to naturally get on the mace, and so if you want it, or any of the other 3 enchantments, or 2 enchantments and a curse, what you'll need to do is you find these enchantment books in another way. And so one of the great ways you can do this is structure loot. Lots of structures in Minecraft generate with enchanted books, and any of those that did previously will now also give you chances to get Density or Breach alongside all of the other ones you might like. This means that you could just go out in the wild and look for these. This is a very viable way unless you want lots of copies of an enchantment, in which case villager trading may be the true way for you. So this is one that a lot of people find handy, and a lot of people think that they are changing the trading, or that they have changed the trading. If you want to get Mending on a book, you still just go to a villager the same way you could before, and there is a random chance of that book being Mending, but also there is a chance of that book being Breach. This is a brand new one. It wasn't that way when they first added it to snapshots and previews, but now you can trade for Breach, Smite, Bane of Arthropods, Fire Aspects, Density, Unbreaking, and the Curse of Vanishing. Every enchantment besides 1 is tradable, which is really, really great. So if you can get 8 of the enchantments this way and 6 of the enchantments this way, how do you find that last 9th enchantment, and what is it? Well, simple story is the way you get the mace is by using ominous trowel keys. This is by using a bad omen bottle while being around a trowel spawner, and if you get an ominous key, you don't just get a chance of getting the heavy core so you can craft the mace, but you also get a chance of getting the rarest enchantments, that is to say Smite, Breach, Density, and Windburst. It's kind of telling that Minecraft makes these the rarest ones that you only get in ominous vaults, and as a result of that, you can kind of tell these are the best. And although you should probably know what Smite does already, extra damage against undead, you might not know what Breach, Density, and Windburst do. So I'll start with the one that is exclusive to the ominous vaults, because I think that Windburst is the most fascinating enchantment they've added in a while. As you are probably aware, once you have crafted the mace, the big benefit of it is that it does more damage the more you fall, and so Windburst is an enchantment that basically attempts to give you more full damage. How does it do this? Well, this is a risky one to do, but as you can see, when you attack an enemy using Windburst, you get a boost into the sky. That was Windburst 1, by the way, roughly equivalent to a Wind Charge, with like standard skill level, I'd say, but add Windburst 3 to something, and ideally don't die while doing it, and look what you get instead. And the great bit about this is you actually don't take full damage on the way down, meaning you can do some insane damage if you go for a second attack, and you can chain them together and together and together. It is a very high skill enchantment though, kind of the opposite of Breach, I would say. Breach is a very useful enchantment, but there is no skill required because all it does is reduce armor effectiveness on the target while using it. If you were to use a regular mace with no enchantments on it, it would take 14 hits to kill a zombie with netherite gear. This is roughly equivalent to a human because of zombies having the same health as regular players, and so 14 hits of a mace is kind of bad, but 9 with Breach 1 is pretty decent, and it goes all the way up to Breach 4 where you can kill a zombie in just 4 hits. In case you don't believe that, in fact, let me just show you that a regular zombie doesn't die in many hits. It takes a lot of killing falling to do this, but if you have breach on a mace, you can see how 1, 2, 3, and 4 hits is enough to kill it. This means that a breach 4 mace is better than a Neverite, a sharpness 5 Neverite sword against a player or player equivalent health enemy if they're wearing armor, and so this is mostly good for PvP where enemies have armor, but it is still very handy even if you just end up fighting a lot of monsters in Minecraft that have armor. In a way, if you think about it, this is like Smite or Bane of Arthropods, which take effect against enemies that are undead or indeed insects, and it's kind of like that but for armored enemies, and so it's the PvP enchantment of choice, and a lot of people will be using breach even if they have no intention of doing the crazy jump attacks, which the mace is of course known for. So speaking of crazy jump attacks, there is an enchantment just for that, and it's called Density, because just to show you the craziness of the mace, with just 48 blocks of full damage, you can kill an Iron Golem in 1 hit. If you land the hit correctly. You can kill an Iron Golem in just 1 hit after 48 blocks, which is pretty decent. You do need to land the hit just right. This is, okay, you know what, this is fun. You can see that this is the risk of the mace, is if you don't get it just right, I swear to God, that time I hit him, but if you don't get the hit just right, as I did just there, and for the first time, definitely, you can see how 48 blocks is what you require, which is already insane when you think about it, but Density improves the damage that you get as you fall, and so for every block fallen, the damage goes up, until you get to the point of Density 5, where you can kill that same Iron Golem with the same ridiculous health bar in just 14 blocks of full. To compare, you can see how different it looks, but here is me now, falling 14 blocks and hopefully managing to, well, I attacked just a little bit too soon there, but in 14 blocks you can kill an Iron Golem in just 1 hit. Pretty crazy if you ask me. So at this point, I think there's only one big question left, and that big question is, what is the best mace enchantment? So obviously there is a little bit of preference here to do with, do you prefer Density, Breach, Smite, and maybe even Bane of Arthropods? I'll be honest, Bane of Arthropods is better in 1.21, but never worth putting on a mace. So out of these 3, you have to decide, because every other enchantment can be stacked on top. You can put Breach, you can put Wind Burst, Fire Aspect, Unbreaking, and Mending on any mace you want, and so that is the best starting mace gear, and then you have to pick which one you specialize into. Smite is best if you're exclusively taking on undead mobs, and realistically, the Wither, because the Wither will die in few hits of this. Density is best if you intend to do big crazy falls against other mobs, like the Ender Dragon, the Warden, or even just if you're going for big player falls against unarmored players, and Breach is the best if you're doing PvP. So PvP, PvE, and PV Wither, if you really want to believe it that way. These are the 3 best maces that you can have, and which one of these is the best entirely depends on what you want from it, and so hopefully this video has been useful to help you understand how you enchant a mace, what it's useful for, and all of that noise. This has been a very fun part of the big update question series. It is a very, very big update question, but hopefully I've answered it well. If I did, consider checking out the others in the series. Thank you to KMB for putting together this world, thank you to Harrison for editing this video, and thank you to you for watching this and the other big update questions, which are on screen right now. Go check one of those out. Goodbye.